Hey guys, Dave Keller here with Market Misbehavior. I wanted to talk to you today about FOMO, or the fear of missing out. So FOMO is something that we've talked about in investing for a while now, especially during a decade-plus bull market in stocks. The stocks have gone higher and higher. We've talked about this fear of missing out, what's motivating or had been motivating investors to continue to buy stocks on the way up was this fear of missing out, fear that stocks would go to the moon and they would miss out on that upside opportunity. Now that the market has reversed in the last 4 to 6 weeks, has gone down aggressively 20, 30+%, it's a different type of fear that's motivating people. Instead of fear of missing out, it's the fear of losing everything, right? It's the fear of being insolvent and being crushed by this market. But also you will find during this severe downtrend, you will find days where the market is up 5 to 10% on one day. And that is FOMO-driven buying, in my opinion, right? There's this fear that you're going to miss the bottom, that the market's going to go all the way back up to the previous highs. And there's that fear of missing out on that initial move because you're afraid that's it. Afraid other investors are able to do that and you're not. In general, obviously it makes sense to pay attention to the longer-term trends, not get too caught up in that fear as a motivator of any buy and sell decisions as an investor. But it's interesting, when we think about that FOMO, that fear of missing out, it's prevalent in a lot of other places too. And I discovered it recently in my own day-to-day process. So I spent a lot of my career and a lot of time over the years trying to improve my processes, improve my routines, have a better way of managing my priorities, managing my time, making sure I'm working in line with my values and that I'm focused on the right things. And I've written a lot on my blog, marketmisbehavior.com, along those lines. But one of the things that I caught myself doing this last week, now that I'm working from home pretty extensively now here in Western Washington, I use Pocket, which is an app and a website that allows you to save websites for later. So if you see an article that you want to read, instead of distracting yourself and spending time on it there, you hit a little button, it saves it to your Pocket, and then later you can go through when you have time and intentionally go in and read those stories. So a lot of times, if you think of the clickbaity headlines that we're faced with, I get hit with a lot of headlines that make me feel like I really want to read those articles. And what they're doing is they are tapping into that FOMO, that fear of missing out. They want you to get the sense that you are missing out if you don't read that article. That's the whole nature of clickbaity headlines and why you are drawn in, why headlines draw you in and images draw you in to try to read that article. They want you to obviously get there so you can support them through their advertisers and all of that. But, I have thought of myself as someone who's well-read. I try to read often. I try to read a lot of websites and blogs and everything just to try to consume a lot of good information, make sure that I'm well-rounded and I understand things. But what I realize is what's motivating is not really the need to be informed and the need to be aware and the need to understand things. It's really more than anything the fear of missing out that's motivating me to do this and be saving articles to Pocket. And here's what I realized. I just checked, and my Pocket account had over 400 articles that I'd saved over the last couple of years. And I, at times would chip away at it and bring it down, but I'm in general adding more than I'm reading. And so I've got a backlog of like 400, 500 articles. I've gotten it down to about 225 through some, serious devoted time over the last week. But overall, I'm saving more than I'm actually reading. And when I look, some of those articles are from a year ago. They're no longer really relevant. When I look through it, and even when I look through my Pocket queue, some of the things I look at, I'm like, why would I even have saved? Like, that wasn't that, that's not that important. I'm okay missing. I don't really need this. Not really helping me in what I'm trying to do. The problem, though, is at the moment, what's happening is you are falling victim to that fear of missing out. And for me, just the act of saving it to my Pocket is what scratched that itch. That's what made it all better. Not actually reading the article or learning from it or gaining wisdom from it. It was just clicking it and knowing that I had it available to me later. It's the same thing that you'll find on your Amazon wish list, things you put on there and never really intend to buy, but just, sometimes I'll see a book that I want to read, I'll save it to my wish list, and for me, that's great. That kind of just gets it off my plate and I know I won't forget it, and that's all that I'm worried about. So the fear of missing out is something that creeps in a lot of times. And again, what I don't want to do, and I hope you don't want to do, is spend all of your day just saving things to some mythical queue that you're never really going to get through. So 2 ways you can help solve this. Number one, be intentional about what you're actually saving for later. What books do you really think are going to help improve you as a person or enrich your life, help you with your relationships? What articles do you really need to read that are very much, materially going to impact your ability to grow professionally and personally? What things could you put on your Amazon wish list that you really do intend to buy and not just flagging them for later? It's okay to let all the other stuff go. And if you do that at the front, make sure that you're filtering out all the noise and just getting the really good stuff. You'll have a much smaller, much more manageable list of really meaningful things to go through when you have time. And that brings us to our second point. Be intentional, be thoughtful about when you are actually going to approach these things. So set a time. For me, it's every Friday that I actually schedule time on my calendar to go through my pocket queue, schedule time to read books. I try to do it every evening, try to read some in the morning as well. I could do better with that. I think as I'm explaining, when I say I'm actually reading, I'm thinking to myself, wow, I could really do better with that. As with many things, I feel like I'm always trying to improve things a little bit. So those are my two suggestions to you. Number one, be intentional about what you save for later. Number two, be intentional about when you actually devote some time to going through those things. And if you do that, if you just filter to the really meaningful stuff and then spend some time really going through it and then taking action on it, you're going to find that you're enriching your life personally, professionally, much better. If this sort of thinking about investor routines, decision-making, and behavior is of interest to you, I hope you'll hit subscribe. Leave me a comment. Let me know some of the other things you'd like me to go through. And check out some of the other videos on my Market Misbehavior channel. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Be safe.